Good day, everyone. Today, we will present our statistical analysis entitled A Statistical Analysis of the Average Daily Allowance of Randomly Selected NBSC Students. In this activity, 50 randomly selected NBSC students were surveyed regarding their average daily allowance. Using the collected data, we computed the measures of central tendency and measures of variability. Specifically, we solved for the mean, median, mode, range, variance, standard deviation, z-score, probability, and percentile.
I used the mean to determine the average allowance of the students. First, I gathered the given data, which consists of 50 daily allowance values from randomly selected students. The values range from 40 pesos up to 250 pesos. To solve for the mean, I used the formula where the sum of x values represents the sum of all the values and n represents the total number of values. For step 1, I added all 50 allowance values carefully. After solving, the total sum of all allowance was 7,135 pesos. For step 2, I counted the total number of data values and I got 50 students. For step 3, I divided the total sum by the number of values. The final answer is 142.70 pesos. Therefore, the average daily allowance of the randomly selected NBSC students is 142 pesos and 70 centavos. This means that on average, a student spends around 142.70 centavos daily for school-related expenses such as transportation, food, and other needs.
The median is a middle value of the data when arranged from smallest to largest. Since our data contains 50 values, which is an even number, we need to identify the two middle values and get their average. First, we arrange the allowances from smallest to largest. The arranged data are 40, 60, 80, 80, 90, 90, 100, 100, 100, 120, 120, 120, 120, 120, 120, 130, 130, 130, 140, 140, 140, 145, 150, 150, 150, 150, 150, 150, 150, 160, 160, 160, 160, 165, 165, 170, 170, 170, 180, 180, 180, 180, 190, 190, 200, 220, 220, 220, 250. Since there are 50 values, we divide 50 by 2. 50 divided by 2 is equal to 25. This means we need to identify the 25th and 26th values. The 25th value is 150. The 26th value is also 150. So, we add the two middle values. 150 plus 150 equals 300. Then divide by 2. 300 divided by 2 equals 150. Therefore, the median is 150 pesos. Next, let us proceed to the mode. The mode is a value that appears most frequently in the data set. We counted how many times each allowance appeared. After counting the frequencies, we found that 150 pesos appeared 9 times, which is the highest frequency among all values. Since 150 pesos appear the most number of times, it is considered the mode. Therefore, the mode is 150 pesos. Now, let us discuss the range. The range measures how spread out the data are. The formula for range is highest value minus lowest value. The highest allowance is in the data set is 250 pesos. The lowest allowance is 40 pesos. So, we subtract. 250 minus 40, the answer is 210. Therefore, the range is 210 pesos. This means the allowance are spread across 210 pesos from the smallest to the largest value.
Solving for the variance, the mean of the data was computed first, which is 142.70 pesos. Its allowance was then subtracted from the mean to determine its deviation. The deviations were squared and added together, then divided by n-1. The computed variance is 1,553.28, showing that the students' allowance are spread out from the average. For the standard deviation was obtained by getting the square root of the variance. The result is 39.41 pesos. This means that the daily allowance usually differ from the mean by about 39.41 pesos. Lastly, for the z-score, the formula z equals x minus min. Divided standard deviation was used. This z-scores tells how far a value is from the mean. A negative z-score means the value is below average, while a positive z-score means it is above average.
For the score of 100, the z-score is negative 1.08, which means it is below the average or mean. For the score of 160, the z-score is 0.44, which means it is above the average. Next, we solve for the top 20% of the data. We use the 80th percentile with the z value of 0.84. After substituting the values, we got 175.80. This means scores are 175.80 and above belong to the top 20%. And lastly, we solve for the bottom 10% using the 10th percentile with a z value of negative 1.28. The result is 92.26. This means scores that are 92.26 and below belong to the bottom 10% of the data.
Proportion with allowance 200 pesos or less. What we are doing here, we want to find out what percentage of students have an allowance that is 200 pesos or lower. In step 1, we calculate the z-score. We use this rule, z equals x minus average number and divided by how spread out the numbers are. So x equals 200, this is the allowance amount we are checking, and the average number is in equal of 142.70. This is the average daily allowance of all students. How spread out the numbers are 39.41. This is how much the allowances differ from the students. For the calculation, 200 minus 142.70 is equal in 57.30. So 57.30 divided by 39.41 is an equal of 1.45. What this means is 200 is 1.45 units above the average allowance. In step 2, find the percentage. We look at a table and find that 1.45 give us the number of 0.9265. This number means 92.65%. So the final answer is 92.65% of students have a daily allowance of 200 or less. Next slide, which is probability of allowance 120 pesos or more. We want to find out what is the chance that a student has an allowance of 120 or more. Step 1, calculate the z-score. Z equals x minus average number divided by how spread out the numbers are. X equals 120 is the allowance amount we are checking. The average 142.70. How spread out the numbers are 39.41. In calculation, 120 minus 142.70 is equal in negative 22.70. And negative 22.70 divided by 39.41 is an equal of negative 0.58. What this means is 120 is 0.58 units below the average allowance. Step 2, find the average. We look at the table and find that negative 0.58 gives us 0.2810. This means 28.10%. This is the percentage of students who have an allowance less than or equal to 120 pesos. And step 3, calculate the chance for 120 or more. Total chance is 100% or 1.0. We subtract the percentage we found. 100% minus 28.10% is an equal 71.90%. And the final answer is there is a 71.90% chance that a randomly selected student has an allowance of 120 pesos or more. The last slide, allowance for Z-score is in equal of 1.25. What we are doing here, we know the score is 1.25 and we want to find out what allowance amount matches the score. In step 1, formula to find the amount. X equals average number plus score and times how spread out the numbers are. Average number is equal 142.70, score 1.25. How spread out the numbers are 39.41. In calculation, first multiply 1.25 times 39.41 is equal 49.26. Then add to the average 142.70 plus 49.26 is equal 191.96. And the final answer, a student with a score of 1.25 has an estimated daily allowance of 191.96.